Okay, so if you're just getting into Dungeons and Dragons, there's this one question that, I swear, trips up almost everyone right at the beginning. It's that moment where you're looking at your character sheet and you go, wait, do I start with gold or do I just get this gear? It sounds like a small thing, right? But getting it wrong can seriously cripple your character before you even roll a single die. So today, we're going to solve that mystery for good.
So, what's the deal? Is it a shiny pouch full of gold, or is it just the equipment that your class description lists out for you? Because believe me, this decision can be the difference between feeling like a prepared hero or feeling completely useless in your very first adventure. Let's make sure you get it right.
All right, let's just get the short answer out of the way. Yes, you absolutely can start with gold, but, and this is the really important part, it's a choice. It's not automatic. And understanding that choice is the whole key to starting your D&D journey on the right foot.
So let's break this down, shall we? When you're making your character, you're faced with one of the very first big decisions you'll make. And it really boils down to two core options. But what it's really about is one simple idea: guidance versus control.
So here are your two options, plain and simple. Option 1, you just take the standard equipment package that your class and your background offer you. Easy peasy. Option 2, you skip all that prepackaged stuff and instead you roll some dice to get a pile of starting gold. Then you get to go shopping and buy all your gear from scratch.
You see? These two paths represent two totally different ways to think about starting your adventure. You can think of it as the guided start versus the custom start.
See, taking the standard equipment, that's all about simplicity. It's about jumping right into the action. But taking gold, well, that's a whole different ballgame. That's about control, it's about customization, and really building your character from the ground up. Now, neither one of these is inherently better than the other, but I'll tell you right now, one of them is a much, much safer bet for beginners.
So let's look at the guided start first. When you take the starting equipment, you get this pre-selected package that is perfectly balanced for your class. You know, a fighter gets their armor and weapons, a wizard gets a spellbook. It is fast, it's easy, and it pretty much guarantees you have everything you need to be effective from the get-go. You don't have to think about it, you just get to play.
And then you have the custom start. Choosing gold means you get a budget and you get to go shopping. You get total control. You can pick the exact armor you want, buy some weird, unique tools, maybe even start with a pet ferret. It's absolutely fantastic for creativity. But that freedom, it definitely comes with a cost. This path introduces a lot of complexity right at the very beginning of the game. And it carries the very real risk of making some bad choices that could leave your character seriously, seriously under-equipped.
Okay, so that brings us to the $1 million, or I guess the million gold piece question. Which path should you, as a new player, actually choose? Let's get into a really clear, actionable recommendation here.
All right, I'm going to tell you the single biggest mistake I see new players make time and time again. They get so excited by the idea of a big pile of gold, they grab it, and then they have this moment of panic when they realize they have absolutely no idea what they actually need to buy to, survive.
And look, this isn't a small mistake. The consequences can be pretty rough. You might forget to buy armor, which is a big one, or maybe a component pouch for your spells, or even your main weapon. This leads directly to having a really weak character in those first few encounters, and just a whole lot of frustration when you realize you can't do the cool things you're supposed to be able to do.
So here's the bottom line, the most crucial point. For your first character, or maybe even your first few characters, just taking the standard equipment is almost always the better choice. Think of it like a safety net. It's designed to make sure you have a good experience right out of the gate.
And why is that? Well, it's because that pre-selected gear package is specifically designed to do a few things. First, it keeps you effective in combat and other challenges. Second, it helps keep the game balanced for your dungeon master. And maybe best of all, it removes the stress of having to memorize the entire equipment list before you've even played a single session.
Okay, so after all that, you might be thinking, all right, got it, never take the gold. But that's not true at all. Starting gold is actually a fantastic tool for the right player at the right time. So the question becomes, when is it a good idea to choose the gold?
You should absolutely take the gold if you can check these 3 boxes. 1. You already have a pretty solid grasp of how your class works. 2. You have a very specific character concept or build in mind that the standard gear just doesn't fit. And 3, most importantly, you have a shopping list ready to go. If you've got all that, then gold stops being a risk and starts being a powerful tool for strategy.
All right, let's zoom out for just a second. because this choice isn't really just about swords and backpacks. It actually reveals that core idea we touched on earlier, this constant balancing act in the game between giving the player control and providing structured guidance.
Choosing the equipment package, that's the guided start. The game is kind of holding your hand to make sure you're ready for the adventure. But choosing gold, that's the open-ended start. That's the game trusting that you know what you're doing. See? Neither one is better, they just serve different players at different stages of their D&D journey.
So when you look at it that way, you can see that the question we started with was maybe a little bit off. The real question, the most important question, isn't actually, do you get gold? The real question is, do you know how to use it? Because at the end of the day, gold is just a tool. And like any tool, its true value comes from the skill of the person who's wielding it. So, my advice, start with the guided path. And once you've got your footing, then you'll be more than ready to embrace that control. Thanks so much for watching.